and welcome back to the gay side of the internet. Big hello if you are new and you're seeing my face for the first time. I am Elloise. My pleasure to have you here. Today we are doing something crazy, different, amazing. We're actually going to be reacting to the show that I starred in along with Julie McCrossin called OK Boomer, OK Zoomer. There's me and my episode. You can go and watch this now if you want. It's live on ABC iView. Otherwise, you can also watch it on YouTube, which is where we're going to be watching it today. I will leave the links to it all down below. I'm also going to walk you through how the day panned out, what we talked about, what we did, what the studio was like, and all like the behind the scenes, including the bits that weren't included. Starting with the email that I received back in May. So I got this email saying, I'm making a short ABC series that I think you'd be great for, and I wanted to see if you'd be interested in appearing in an episode. It's like a queer cross-generation version of Gogglebox. Each episode, a younger person and an older person react to videos of their respective generations, tailored to each person as well, so personal things from my life and personal things from whoever my partner was going to be life. I read this and I was like, oh my god. I'm such a shy person in real life. I don't know if that comes across on YouTube at all, but I was like, I don't know if I could do this. I'm terrified, but also I was like, please just send me more information. So we got chatting in it. Mon, who I was talking to, she was great and she made me feel a lot at ease and like clarified any questions I had. I felt like, yeah, like I can do this thing. It was kept secret from me for a little bit who my partner was, but then I found out it was Julie McCrossin. Julie, who wasn't well known to me at the time, but I believe is well known to a different generation, was actually a lesbian gay rights pioneer. She was part of the 1978ers. She was there on the very first night, and she's also been an ABC broadcaster for a number of years. So all of that was to be revealed as we met. So the goal for the shoot was for us to sit down for about an hour and a half in total and react to some videos which would be cut down into a 15-minute episode. In particular, our episode would be on the lesbian experience. There was going to be 3 other episodes as well, a gay men one, trans and drag queens one. The goal was to like see how different so many generations apart we are, just to see how different our experiences were. I was really excited to do this too because I've never had a conversation with any gay person at all, let alone a lesbian that's very similar to my experience. I've never had a conversation with someone who is so many years older. So I was really looking forward to that part of it. June comes along. I am hella nervous. I've picked my outfit. I decide I'm gonna go with my classic purple pants, a singlet shirt, and then like a cool Gen Z looking pullover shirt. I remember arriving in the city. It's the middle of winter. I grab myself a hot chocolate and like a little pastry. I walk into ABC's office. Me, this tiny little person, I walk into this massive ABC office and I have to sign in. I have to take this little name badge photo and I get a badge to like hang around my neck. I meet a person named Sam, also Julie as well. And they're both lovely. Like my first impressions was like, oh my god, it's gonna be okay. Like, because I'm walking into this thing just not knowing what to expect, but I was very, very relieved. The vibe Julie gave to me straight away was just like really open and warming, welcoming, but also a little bit like grandmotherly. It was really nice to feel that sort of guidance and connection from her. But we get shuffled down this hallway into the studio. I sort of see the set and I go, oh my god, this is real. Also, the room for the set, very big, square, concrete, dark box, very cold. Just very cold. It's winter, but it's also very cold in there. I know that is because the lights are gonna be warm. I get given a dressing room, which is basically just a place where I leave my bag, and then we get our hair and makeup done. I'm a little bit worried about this part because despite some of my YouTube videos, I actually don't wear makeup in everyday life. Not really my thing, but I knew I needed some of it for the show. I would have done it myself, but we were gonna have an expert there, so I was like, I'll let the expert do it for the type of TV lighting, you know, make it so the TV looks good. I think I looked like me, but just done up for TV, so that was alright. We were all sitting in the hair and makeup studio. It's Julie's turn, she's getting her hair done, her hair blow dried, we're chatting away. Julie wanted to get some photos, so we took a couple of selfies as we were waiting to be ready to start recording. And then it was our turn. They were ready for us. We sit down and now it's time to react to exactly what was given to us on the screen. Just a side note, I might cut through this a little bit, so if you do want to see the whole thing, I recommend just click the link down below, you know, try and avoid copyright and all of that jazz. Let's react.
Two people, generations apart, will watch stories that capture queer life in the past.
That's my life you're watching there.
And present.
I like girls!
This is OK Boomer, OK Zoomer.
We're about to watch us introduce ourselves, and we only did one cut of this, and I was like, oh, I should have done another one because you'll just see. Let's just do it.
I'm Elloise. I am a lesbian and I've been making YouTube videos for the past 8 years on my experience being gay, my relationship.
In this video, we're going to explore 10 signs that you might be lesbian.
And also giving advice to younger people.
My name's Julie McCrossin and I turned 70 this year, which feels big. And I first realised I was a lesbian when I was about 13, and it was a couple of decades before homosexuality was decriminalised. So I'm a sort of an ageing activist and who started demonstrating in about 74 in a thing called Gay Liberation, and then the first Mardi Gras and all the rest. Yeah. But lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
This is so weird to do in this order too, because we had been talking already, so we sort of knew each other, but we had to do a formal intro. Watching this back, my intro is totally fine, but I kept it so short and sweet. And Julie's just had this amazing intro.
Back in 1970, when Julie McCrossin was just a teenager, lesbians were the topic of scientific debate.
It's probably because lesbianism is relatively inconspicuous that a lot of people still find it difficult to believe that it really does exist. This is how the figures work out for 100 girls. 80 out of the 100 will be entirely heterosexual. The other 20 will probably be involved in some kind of lesbian experience during the course of their lives. Of the remaining 5, 1 would be capable of lesbianism only under extreme circumstances. 2 would be bisexual in varying degrees. 1 would be lesbian, but capable of limited heterosexual feelings. And only 1 in 100 would be exclusively homosexual.
Well, I certainly would be the one left standing there who was exclusively lesbian. Yeah. Must seem so old.
My immediate reaction is, yeah, where are these stats coming from? I don't know, it's like a bit cringy because it is so old, like the footage.
That's exactly what I looked like when I went to high school, just so you know. Because I was alive back when that was made. I did watch that program, This Day Tonight, was one of the first news and current affairs programs on the ABC. And
so did you saw that?
I have seen that before, yes. Yeah. But it's that tone of us being objectified and analysed a little bit like a virus that I find a bit offensive.
Yes.
Even though at the time any mention of homosexuality, lesbianism was a positive, because there was this terrible silence. I don't get the sense that you're irritated by that or offended.
No, I'm not, because it just seems so distant to me, and I can understand for you that you would have seen it. It's, you know, part of your life, but I'm like, that was so long ago, like, surely no one's going to be watching that and thinking that that's real anymore, you know?
This was so hard for me to be thrown into for the first clip, because a lot of numbers and stuff was thrown around, and also it was really old. So my brain was like, I'm trying to like interpret what is being said in this clip, and also I'm being recorded right now. It felt really difficult to react to that one because I needed more time to process what was happening. So like my reaction is just so, I don't know. But Julie's right, it does feel very petri dish science experimenty. And for that to be on just the general news TV that everyone was seeing, it does feel very, very othering. I think if I saw that when I was growing up, I would have been like, there's no way I can be a lesbian. It's 1 in 100, right? There's no way. Little did I know.
Let's go further back in time to the 1930s, when lesbians were practically invisible.
May I have this? Of course.
So filmgoers were shocked when leading lady Marlene Dietrich kissed another woman on screen.
Have you ever seen this before?
I've never seen this.
How do you react?
My first reaction is like, a woman in a suit. I love that. It's the top hat. Yes, please.
That is the first lesbian kiss that I ever saw. Not in 1930, I want to assure you, but I actually saw that when I was a uni student, and that's the woman in the suit, the tuxedo, is Marlene Dietrich. She kissed that woman, and I knew absolutely that whatever she was, I needed to be that. And it's impossible to convey to someone as young as you how forbidden homosexuality was. Back then, it was a mental illness. It was against the law, and it was against God's will. So to see a woman in a tuxedo, in an elegant manner, kiss another woman gave me hope. Hope.
This was so interesting to hear Julie talk about it this way, because it does seem so old to me, but I don't know if I talked about it and we didn't include it or not, but I remember thinking that the way that, yay, someone, a girl kissed a girl, but also the way that the rest of the show carried on, everyone laughed about it. Everyone was like, oh my God, this is so there's no way this happened. This is a joke. It's so funny. But I also know, what else was their reaction going to be, really? If that's the first time it's ever happened on screen, it makes sense. I wanted to add, Julie in this whole thing carried the conversation so well. She did so much of the heavy lifting. She's just really good at directing the conversation and balancing it back onto me, asking me a couple of questions. I feel really lucky to have been paired with Julie, because the experience I had and the way that she carried it just felt so natural and so good.
In the 1970s, queer Australians took to the streets to fight for their rights.
Last Saturday night's turbulent march through King's Cross marked the 9th anniversary of gay liberation's stormy birth. Today, the fervour was there, if not the numbers. In fact, for most of the morning, the demonstrators, encircled and barred from entering the court, were actually outnumbered by police. Whilst demonstrators went through a repertoire of slogans, the court began remanding the 53 people arrested on Saturday night. But before midday, another 7 people were in jail.
Wow.
That's my life you're watching there. I was there that day in that crowd. I recognised people. You know, there was a thing they call the first Mardi Gras in 1978. And that's the morning in court after the big Mardi Gras where 52 people were arrested and the police were very violent. They beat people up. And what happened then was there were an endless series of more demonstrations to try and get the charges withdrawn. And on that day, there were many more arrests outside the court. I'm just so glad you don't have to go through that.
Yeah.
Because it was scary. It was also very exciting because it was great to just fight. But because remember, it was still against the law to be a male homosexual then at that time. But when you look at that, what does it look like?
It makes me scared. I'm a bit emotional watching it, because I can't imagine me being that young in that situation, because I know I would have been there. I have been at climate rallies, which is so similar, so I know what the atmosphere is like, but to be one of those young people in front of so many police, so many people in uniform, that's terrifying.
Yeah, I can see you're crying.
I don't mean to, sorry.
No, I want to say thank you for your compassion.
Scary.
Thank you for your compassion.
But, you went through that, and people went through that so that my generation don't have to.
This one is hard to watch back because, it did upset me because the younger girls' faces in that, I could just see myself in there. It felt very tense, and I was trying to empathize with Julie about how I made the comment about I had been to climate rallies. It didn't end up making it into the final cut, but I also mentioned how I went to marriage equality rallies as well before I went to my first Mardi Gras. And the atmosphere of a marriage equality rally is it's not going to obviously be that level, but it was angry, it was tense, it was sad. Just the feeling inside it is just the want for something to change, but being so worried that you're not going to be able to change it despite you showing up and all these other people showing up. You're trying to create change, but there's that bit of hopelessness. I'm a little bit sad that the marriage equality rallies happening before my first Mardi Gras, that's such an important thing in my story that we sort of skipped over in this. And I understand why. There's only 15 minutes and you have to shove everything in and pick the really most strongest important parts. And I know what's coming next is moving on. The emotional journey of this episode, we're moving on. Well, you can't drink Yeah, okay, so we are emotionally moving on to my life, my generation side of the story. But before we do move on, there was a clip they didn't include. I'm, again, sad they didn't include it, but I understand why. There's a journey we have to take the viewer on, and it probably didn't fit. But there was this clip of this woman presenting on TV, like telling the news, but it was during Mardi Gras down Oxford Street, late 90s, early 2000s, I'm guessing. And it was so noisy and she's like yelling in the microphone. And it was actually Julie. And it took me like a couple minutes to go, oh my God. And it to click. When it did, me and Julie just laughing about it. I really thought that would have been included, but it wasn't. Back to Rose and Rosie.
Well, you can't drink it straight from the bottle. Well, we barely started the video. Well, yeah.
So what's changed over the past 30-odd years?
We went on timing it.
Thanks to the internet, lesbian visibility has come a long way.
I am blushing.
Oh, if you guys are familiar with Rose and Rosie, this is like one of their biggest videos they ever made. One of the first introductions for a lot of us lesbians into just other lesbians existing online. This clip actually goes for like minutes, and we sat there watching them kiss in a studio with like cameramen, you know, all the extra people. We're just there watching this thing, and I'm like, my face is going so red. We have to sit through this. Like, you could have skipped it. They definitely skipped it in this edit, but oh my God. It's painful and embarrassing.
You see, I knew one of us was gonna laugh.
Oh my God.
Tell me, what is this?
Okay, so this is pretty much my introduction into me figuring myself out. This is the first kiss that I would have seen ever, really.
It's a bit different from a peck by my later teacher.
So Rose and Rosie, were the first really feminine lesbian couple I ever saw together. And I was so shocked, like, seeing myself. I was like, I can be gay. Through the representation I had seen on TV, media, when growing up, it had always been like butch lesbians. That's all I saw. So
I'm pretty sure I told Julie, I don't know if I did or not, I can't remember, but my then girlfriend back in 2016 had introduced me to Rose and Rosie on her like laptop screen, and I was just so like, who are these people? And they're actually girlfriends, because like I'm saying here, my whole life there was no representation. It wasn't a thing that I thought I could be because I couldn't see myself.
like, feminine lesbian didn't exist.
Oh, wow, so you couldn't identify that?
No.
I'm sort of partly very sad that, because you're so much younger than me, that could still be the case.
Yeah.
So that opened up, you know, you said before, I think Mardi Gras opened up a big door.
Yeah.
There's the point about Mardi Gras opening up a big door, because I went to Mardi Gras for the first time with my then girlfriend after I had been to rallies, and I just was like, I'm sure anyone who goes to Mardi Gras for the first time, it's just this experience that I can't explain, I can't put words to it, but the atmosphere is something else. Interestingly, I thought maybe others thought that the conversation that would happen during this show would be a very happy contrast between two different generations. Julie's being harder than mine, and mine hopefully being a better experience, but she was really shocked and upset to hear that it really wasn't the case for me. I had to fight for my right to get married just as I was discovering my sexuality, and that was hard and scary. And it's almost been 10 years since I came out, so for me, I feel like a lot has changed since then, and I feel like I have been part of that online. I don't know. I feel like I have some responsibility in that now that I think about it. I started making videos around the time of my first relationship and around the time of figuring myself out. And a lot of people, probably a lot of you watching right now, have found me through that and have discovered or came to terms with your sexuality just because of the content that I put out online. I know one of my videos has over 1 million views. So that's like people's first point of reference if they're like, how do I know if I'm lesbian? Everyone sees that video. I will get to that video because it is included in here. When I came out, there wasn't a lot. There wasn't a lot of representation. They were the sort of YouTubers, there was only a handful of people around the time that I came out, and there wasn't any educational stuff. And then that's what I really decided to make. There was no like, how do I ask a girl out? How do I know if a girl is lesbian? How do I know if a girl likes me? How do I know if I am a lesbian? What were the childhood signs someone else experiences to know that they were lesbian? Like, all of those things didn't exist, and I just made them.
That did the same for you.
That was massive.
These days, shows like teen drama Heartbreak High are groundbreaking in showcasing all sorts of queer identities and relationships.
Do you not want to have sex with anyone or just me? I like kissing you, but when it becomes more, I don't get the urge to go any further.
So before we talk about this one, there actually was a scene from Heartbreak High, a different scene they played before this one. I think Quinny in the library talking about figuring out if she likes a girl or not, and I remember my reaction to watching it in this studio. I just didn't have enough reaction to it. I was like, I can't really relate to this one, I'm sorry. So that's why it didn't get included. Totally fine. Can't have a strong reaction to everything. I've totally forgot to tell you, we were allowed to send them some of the videos that had an impact into our life. So I made a list of a bunch of different things. They said like some YouTube videos, some TV shows, some media, etc. So I made a list, and this scene was one of the ones that I mentioned because, let's go back.
Have you seen this?
No, tell me about this and what you're thinking when you watch.
I relate to this one a lot because when I was figuring myself out, my first label that I tried on was asexual, which is what Cash is, I think, in this.
And what does that mean?
It means that you don't experience any sexual feelings towards anyone at all, and you might not do anything about that at all. And at that time, I was also in love with my best friend, and lesbian was not something that I saw or thought that I could be, so it didn't really cross my mind at all. Like, it wasn't an option for me, but I knew that I was not into guys. So there are those feelings, like I felt like I never wanted to have sex, didn't want to go there, didn't even think about it happening.
And what did it mean to you as someone not sure really what your sexuality was, who was still sorting it all out, that sort of thing was on the telly, was on the TV?
Julie had an excellent question there. I wish I could have answered it a little differently because that, truthfully, was not on TV when I was figuring myself out. Maybe this is your first introduction to my videos. I made a video going through my diaries, which is one of the most vulnerable videos I've made, but I went through my teenage diaries and you can see this process actually happening in real time of me being like, I don't like men. I don't want to do those things with them. I'm not straight, but not being able to, or taking a really long time to accept that I was lesbian because it was just drilled into me that there's no way that label can apply to me because I haven't shaved my hair off. You know, I'm not wearing leather clothes, big boots. Like I can't be that. And I knew that I was in love with my best friend and I was just in a lot of denial about it. To be a teenager, figuring your sexuality out and also being in love with your best friend and also not being able to be this thing, like be a lesbian, lesbian was a term in porn, if I'm honest. That's what it was.
I wish it was on when I was younger. Like, because that show is quite open about it. There's so much visibility within that show. If that was accessible to me as a 14, 15-year-old, I might have come to terms with my sexuality a little bit faster, or the process might have been a bit shorter because it was out in the world, I could be more accepting towards me. So I'm a bit sad that I missed out on that, but I'm really glad that it exists for younger people now. Like, maybe it's not a true reflection of high school because I don't think high school's that bright and open, but if we're putting that out into the world, I think slowly it will become that. And I'm hopeful for that.
Bro, that was really good. Good job, little Lauren. My actual first introduction in like TV movies was Orange is the New Black. That was the first thing I saw that was gay, and I was probably 19 by that point. That is rated MA probably, so I wouldn't have seen that as a 14-year-old, but you know, there's a lot of time, there's a lot of growth that happens to a young person between 14 and 19. I feel like I was just such a late bloomer to the whole subject because it was hidden away from me.
Coming out is still a big deal, but now we can come out online to everyone.
Hey everyone, I'm Elloise, and welcome to my channel if you're new, because I know quite a few people who haven't seen me before will probably watch this. So I'm a little nervous about this, I don't know why. I mean, I'm confident in who I am now, but I am a little bit nervous. Hi! I don't know how to say it. I like girls. There you go, I said it. I like girls! I don't think I've said that out loud properly, really.
Oh man. My brain right now is like, I miss her. I miss that little baby. So long ago and so nostalgic. The thing that wasn't included in this part of the video was when I saw my face on the screen, I was like, ah, shit. And then the very first words of that video is, ah, shit. And it was just so funny and so full circle.
That is so delightful.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I want to like scoop myself up. Like there's some distance between me and her now. Yeah. I just want to like, after watching the clip before, I just want to scoop her up and be like,
be gentle with her. Exactly. And why did you choose to do it that way? What was your purpose?
I knew I always wanted to make YouTube videos, regardless of my sexuality. I loved watching them. I loved talking. I wanted to do that. And this
was a fun fact. I made YouTube videos before I came out, before I had this channel. Not very many, but I did.
Felt like a natural thing to do is like share that story with people, because people search coming out story all the time. I had watched some and I wanted to share my version of it.
What?
I don't think it was included, but I did talk about how Rose and Rosie, for example, were a big inspiration for me starting my own channel, as well as a bunch of just other YouTubers unrelated. At the time, Dan Howell, except he wasn't gay back then. Emma Blackery, PewDiePie, Jenna Marbles, all of these YouTubers. I was like, I just want to do that. Just feel like doing that. It just also happened at the time that I was discovering myself. So if you're making a channel and you've got to have something to talk about, that was just one of the things that I talked about. I made other videos too. A lot of them are privated now because a lot of them have my past relationship bits and pieces in it. And I also made rat videos. Yes, that's an important part of history.
If I could have seen that as a young woman, it would have given me a tremendous sense of comfort and hope. It's a fantastic thing to do. And because I'm an ageing dag, as you know, I have to ask, had you told your parents before you broadcast that?
Yes, I did.
And so what I hear is social media has been integral to your life, obviously.
Yeah. I'm glad she asked that, because I was afraid that people would assume, just based on that clip, that I was a lot younger than I was. I had to ask them to put my age in the top banner. You might have noticed, I think I was maybe 20. And people would have looked at that and thought I was 16. I think it's really important that I say this and I bring this up. Don't come out online in a video like that if you haven't told your parents or you haven't told anyone else. It's not the safest thing or the smartest thing to do. That's not what I did. Everyone already knew. I just wanted to share my story about figuring it out to help other people. There's a lot of time between when that happened and now, and I think now people take it a little bit less seriously and think it isn't a big deal. It is a big deal, and it's important to be respectful of the people around you.
So your emergence as a lesbian young woman is linked to all of this as well?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And do you get responses from all over the world?
I have, yes. And I still get them to this day. And I know we're all smiley happy now, but I get people who message me on Instagram and they're from other countries where it isn't as accepted. Mm-hmm. And it's hard for me to reply to those because I feel for them, but I can't go and change the laws. And that's hard to deal with sometimes.
But I think you would bring great comfort because of your youth and your lovely innocence, if I may say so. It would be a great comfort. But I just want to say thank you for doing those brilliant videos. It's so exciting.
maybe we talked about it elsewhere in the series as well, just that I am the point of reference for a lot of people, or I can sometimes be people's first exposure to figuring themselves out. And that is a lot of pressure. And it's a lot of pressure when people don't know where to go to or who to talk to. And I totally understand, because sometimes it feels like there's no one you can talk to. And then I get a lot of messages, or I see a lot of comments, and sometimes I can't reply because it's so frustrating when I know part of the problem is like the country that they're in or the circumstance that they're in, and I can't change that. And I don't know how to help, or like they're like, how do I know if I'm gay? And I'm like, I don't know, honey. I can't tell you. Only you can figure that out yourself. Yeah, that part of it is hard.
From baby boomers to Gen Z, the way society views lesbians and the ways lesbians celebrate their own sexuality on screen has come a long way. We can't wait to see what the next 50 years brings.
So I'm pretty sure that is my most viewed video. It has 1 point something billion views. I don't know how many now.
Muzzle tough! That is fantastic!
It's massive. I get comments on it every day. Every single day.
Oh god. So that was in reference to the how to know if you're a lesbian video. We watched more of that clip in person, but it didn't end up in the video, which I'm actually glad it didn't, because how do I explain this? It's a great video, but it has been a good couple of years. It's probably been like 4 years, 5 years since I made it. So again, there feels like there's distance between me and her, and I'm like, oh, I'm a bit embarrassed. It's a bit cringe. But yeah. It's so funny they included that shot of like us taking a selfie, but that was actually Julie asking to take a selfie, because my phone was in my backpack in the dressing room where it stayed the whole time. That's another thing. I didn't actually vlog the day because I was just too scared. I was too shy. I'm a really shy person, and walking into something so new and a big deal, wasn't on my list of to-dos, honestly. So after this, we went and sat down and we just talked for ages. And then I actually asked Julie to go out for lunch with me, and she was very like, oh my god, yes. So we went out and we just kept talking, and it was just really nice. It felt like I was catching up with a grandmotherly figure, and that was just very comforting to me. Thank you, Julie, for being the best little buddy ever. I hope we do get to cross paths again. And a big thank you to ABC for having me on this. I hope you guys are very happy with how it turned out. I am so stoked. It was just such a great experience. A 10 out of 10 would do it again if you want a part 2. Comment down below and I'll send it all to ABC in an email. But if you haven't seen the whole thing, please go and stream it. It is live right now. Leave a nice comment and I'll see you in the next video. Till then, stay safe